Love it when we're live. I'm Chris, and I'm in the studio. We're going to talk about blades.
And what you'll notice is that it's in the on position, but the tip is not hot. Okay, so I'm not going to burn myself.
Just like that, this is called jogging. This is my kind of jog. I'm not into that heavy physical fitness stuff, so this works out good for me.
Today we're going to be talking about chucks, and the cold jaws would be for taking and holding the bowl this way.
We always recommend leaving at least a 1/16 inch gap. It actually moves up and down and side to side that are great if you're just looking to get something small to do some little tinkering with.
Good afternoon and welcome to Abrasive and Proud of It Live. This is Turning Thursdays, and today we have Mr. Darryl Jones from Robert Sorby with us. Chris, Mr. Turnmaster Chris, can you kind of give us an idea of what we're looking at today?
So in the past couple of weeks, we've talked about all the different sharpening systems from low-speed grinders using a Tormek. And today we're going to move into another option that's a good option. It's called the Robert Sorby ProEdge. Darryl is actually the Sorby, I guess you could say, rep, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, Darryl, you can
actually,
away and go ahead and start talking about it.
Okay. So I guess the correct term would be demonstrator, because I go out and I do events and I talk to folks about how to use the Robert Sorby tools when I'm out doing events. So today I want to share with you guys how to use the Robert Sorby ProEdge. And I want to talk about a couple of things Chris has done. Did I get that right, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. They've already done some videos talking about some of the other options like the Tormek and the Wolverine jig, which are all very good options, very commonly used. So I want to talk about some of the advantages of this machine over those machines, right? Before we really get into any of the specifics, I want to talk about some of the obvious things. Right. One of the things is that this machine takes up a very small footprint. Now, if you have a Wolverine system, you know that it takes up a lot more space. You need to have it on a deeper counter so that you can accommodate for the long bar for the V bar. So you're going to need a lot more space. All right. Versus both of those other two systems, this is like a one-time purchase. So when you purchase the ProEdge, you buy one thing. With the Wolverine, you have to buy a grinder separate. You have to build a platform. You have to, make it so that all the parts are installed in the right place, all that kind of stuff. With the ProEdge, you get everything you need minus one accessory to really sharpen pretty much anything you need in wood turning, and that's a big advantage because with the Tormek, also a great machine. But the Tormek, you have to buy the machine, and then every accessory is an additional purchase. So you almost have to do a little bit of research ahead of time to figure out what you're going to sharpen before you can even invest in the machine, because you want to make sure you have what you need to do what you need. All right. So aside from that, one of the things that's also unique to the ProEdge is that the ProEdge uses a sanding belt, sanding grit belt, and a flat platen. So what that means is that you're not going to get a hollow grind. Now, that's neither here nor there. Hollow grind, flat grind, that's up to your own personal preferences. But there are some things that you could do with this that you cannot do with the wheel. So let's get down to talking about the Sorby ProEdge on its own merits, not in a comparison type situation. So one of the things that is really useful, I have two cameras here, so I'm going to be moving them around a little bit so that we can get in close to see some of the things I want to show you. So there'll be a little bit of moving around and stuff. So that's going to be a little bit of fun, a little bit of fun for everybody. So let's see if we can. All right. Okay. So we're going to start right. Oops. Yeah. my camera skills ain't that great. All right, so the first thing we're going to look at is right here on the front. We have a recommended angle setting, right? Because there are proper angles for sharpening pretty much everything. And one of the difficulties with some of the other systems is that you have to employ systems like using a marker or something to color the bevel so that you can get to the right bevel, angle. And that can be a little frustrating because really, when you're talking about wood turning tools, what you want, man, that thing's just falling all over the place. Sorry. All right. So when you're talking about sharpening your turning tools, the thing that you really want is you want consistency. All right. You want a sharp edge. You want it consistent. So you want to be able to set those things. Exactly every time you do it. So let's zoom out just a little bit here so we can look at the second part of this. Okay. So that little chart tells you which angles, which suggested angles from the factory for each individual tool. For example, you got 15 degrees for a skew chisel. You got 20 degrees for your parting tool. Okay. So when we're going to be using the platform here, all right, this is where typically you would use a Sharpie. So with most systems, I'll just go ahead and slide this on here real quick so we can talk about this a little bit. Okay. And then I'll mention, not least of all, that the wrench for adjusting this platform is captured, so you don't have to look for it. All right. So when we want to sharpen something on the platform, let's say we'll start with a parting tool. We'll start with something easy. Okay. So I need a 20-degree bevel on this parting tool. So I want to do two things. I want to present this square to the wheel so that I can get a nice square edge on my tool, because I use this as a joinery tool. So I want to make sure that when I cut my joinery that I got a nice square edge there. So what we can do is we can use the side of the V block that comes standard with the sharpening system, and we can use that to make sure that we're 90 degrees to the belt. Okay. Now, as far as our settings go, we got down here on the map showing 20 degrees for a parting tool. And the 20 degrees, this drawing right here is a map that maps out these holes in the back. And these are the registration pins. So this is going to be such a nice change, because instead of having to color this bevel with a Sharpie and then try to get close to it, I can set this every single time to exactly 20 degrees. I never have to guess. It's the same today. It's the same tomorrow. It's the same several years from now, right? And remember, I talked about, you want to make sure that you have not just a sharp edge, but also a consistently shaped edge. Because if you're learning how to turn and you're sharpening this to different geometries every single time you sharpen it, essentially it's a new tool every time you pick it up. How will you ever get good at it? So we have the platform now set at the 20 degrees. I'm using my V block to make sure that it's square to the belt. I also have, see if I can zoom out just a little bit and show you my little setup I got here. Okay, so I have a lamp, okay, on a gooseneck, and you'll notice that I have this right at the top on a raking angle. So it helps many times so that I can come up here and I can see right when I've reached the edge of it. I've reached the edge of my bevel, because I have this area really well lit. It's also really helpful for reshaping too. So anyway, all we have to do now, turn the machine on, register it up square against the side of the V block, bring it up, touch that side, flip it over, touch that side, do this every time. Okay? And that's it. You got that's it. We got a nice sharp parting tool now. Very cool. That's the other thing you want with any sharpening system, is you want to be able to get your sharpening done quickly and get back to work. So the next thing we're going to do is, since we have the V block on, is we're going to talk about some of the tools that we can sharpen with the V block, and we're going to talk about just how quick and easy that can be. Now, me personally, I don't use the most common thing you would sharpen with a V block is a spindle roughing gouge. Let me zoom in just a little bit here. Sorry about that. I'm trying to get these cameras set up in a way that's most conducive. Can be a little tricky sometimes. All right. So a roughing gouge, spindle roughing gouge, is what we would normally use. Where are we at? Right here. Okay, for the V block. So I'm gonna show you how to do that really quickly. And I almost forgot. I had a second angle for you guys. Let's see here. Let's zoom in just a little bit. Okay. Put this up a little. All right. So it's really quite easy to do this. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to take our spindle roughing gouge, okay, and then we're going to set it down in that V groove. Almost forgot. We're going to go back to the reference chart here, and the spindle roughing gouge is sharpened at 45 degrees. So we're going to change our locations to match the map here, which is the fourth hole from the top, fourth hole down from the top on the outside. Okay. And now we have that set up. Simple. Whenever you're sharpening any tool, doesn't matter which system you're using, what you really want to do, all right, is you want to think of it as, you want to think of anything with a bevel as really three surfaces. You want to think about it, the wing, each wing is a surface in the nose, all right? So when we're going to shape this, what we want to do is we want to sharpen the wing, the nose, and then everything together. Let's see if I can get this a little tighter. There we go, much better. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to put it in the V carriage, V block. All right, we're going to start with the wing. We're going to go to the other wing. All right. Then we're going to do the nose. All right, and then we're going to do the entire thing together twice. Once in each direction, and boom, we got a nice straight tool. Okay. Another tool that I use this V block for is my standard grind on my bowl gouge. And this is something that people use. They call it a bottom feeder, this particular grind. And this is actually a very easy grind to put on a tool, because basically we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to put it in the V block, and we're going to do a wing, the nose, and then all together. The thing you should have noticed already is that this is really easy to set up, really easy to complete, and it's very repeatable. So I'm getting my consistently sharp, consistently shaped, keen edges, which is really important for wood turning. All right. So I don't know how this normally works. Is there like a question section there, guys?
Well, we can. I do have a question on it. Since you're using an abrasive belt, is there any worry about the gullet or the flute having a burr on it?
Well, anytime you sharpen a gouge, you're gonna have a burr. It's gonna develop a burr no matter what you use. So what you can use to take that burr off, if you choose to, is we have a buffing wheel down here on the bottom, which is an accessory. All right. So what you can do is it comes with this compound here. So basically, you just charge it with a little compound, and it's actually, and turn this off so you can hear me. It's important when you use this to remove that burr on the inside. It's important that you always keep the cutting edge pointing down, because you don't want to go straight into it, because it'll damage the wheel, and you don't want to. So this is basically an abrasive process. So you want to make sure that you present it so that the wheel is rolling away from the material, because you could, highly unlikely, but you could possibly round over that edge and actually dull your tool. So when I'm using this, I just come in, start on one wing, work my way down to the middle, come to the other side with it pointed down, and then that'll take care of the burr. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
now, some people maybe
using a belt is unlike a wheel. It's not going to decrease in size nor is it going to dish out where you've got to constantly be reflattening like you do with a wheel machine.
Yeah, you beat me to that one. All right. So what I was going to say about the burr, right, is that you might wonder, some folks might wonder, why would I want to take that burr off, right? With the burr, it's going to cut a little bit more aggressively depending on the shape of the grind of the end of the gouge. And sometimes you want to take a finer cut, and if you hone that burr off, you can get a finer cut with the tool. So that might be the reason why. If you have a piece of material, piece that you're working on, and the grain is real stringy or something like that, and you're ready to do your last pass, and you're having some problems getting a smooth surface, you could do that. So let's talk about some of the other accessories that come with it. So this is the skew jig, right? And oops, actually, I need to adjust that so you can't see it. Come back up here. Okay. So this is the skew attachment. Maybe I'll turn this light off. Yeah, a little better. So this is skew attachment here. This is without a doubt the easiest way to sharpen a skew of all the systems that I've ever used. So we just put our little triangle shaped jig right here on the platen, or on the tool rest, and we go back to our chart, and skews are 15 degrees, which is the top hole on the outside. Go ahead and tighten that up. And the skew angle is already built into the jig. So once I line this up, it's going to set up that skew angle across the top perfectly for me. And all I have to do is go ahead and bring it up and touch and do both sides, and it's sharp and ready to go. 1, 2. Now, when you're sharpening a skew, you don't want to spend too much time on that second side, all right? Because what will happen is that you will end up actually dulling the tool. So you want to spend the majority of your time on the first side, and then when you go to the other side, you just want to touch it. Because if you sharpen it too much, then it'll start to expose a flat on the end of the skew. But this right here is by far the easiest way I've ever seen out of any of the systems to do the skews. And it's nice because you're going to get a flat grind on there. And again, it's nice to me, but that's really a point of personal preference. Some people really love a hollow grind. All right. So far, everything I've shown you thus far comes standard with the ProEdge. So now we're going to talk about sharpening our profile gouges, like this one right here. This is a fingernail. This is a fingernail grind on a bowl gouge, right? This is where things get kind of interesting. For the record, all of the other systems, you have to buy a separate device. You have to buy a separate jig to do any of these type profiles, okay? This comes standard. So this is the fingernail profiler, and this is the boss jig for it. Fingernail profiler, make sure I got it in the shot, yeah. All right, so this just slides on right here. I'm gonna have to zoom out a bit. There we go. Oops. All right, so the boss slides onto this bar here, all right, and then the jig will sit right down in there. But before we do that, we got to talk about the one accessory that does not come with the system. This is the Pro Set, okay? And this is what sets the protrusion of the tool. While I'm setting this up, I want to talk about the fact that the ProEdge, to sharpen your gouges, the ProEdge is also a little bit simpler than most, because the only two settings you have to worry about is protrusion, which I'm setting up right here. I use a 45-degree nose angle on my tools, and setting this protrusion allows me to set that up. So right here on the Pro Set, It's marked 45 degrees right there. So I just butt up the end of the profiler to the edge of this, and then I just take the tip of the tool to the stop and tighten it up. All right. That's the one accessory, okay, that I think is kind of almost required that does not come with the system. Everything else comes with it. Okay. So now that we've got that set up, the other setting is which hole you put this in. Now this one only has one hole, okay? There's an additional accessory that's available that is basically the same thing, except that it has 2 additional holes. That first hole is in exactly the same place. And what that allows you to do is that allows you to have grinds that have longer wings on them for whatever purposes you may have. Ellsworth grind, or a lot of people like a 55-degree re-swept back grind for doing bowls and things. So one thing I forgot to do is take the platform off. So now that we have that, we have all of our settings in place. So now all we have to do is sharpen the tool. Again, this is a tool with a bevel on it. So we're going to do that, treating it as 3 individual surfaces. We're going to have 2 wings and the nose. So we're going to start off by doing the wing on one side. Okay, we're going to do the wing on the other side. Then we're going to do the nose. Then we're going to do everything together. Okay. Nice sharp tool. Can be done very quickly, very conveniently. All right.
Darryl, I have a question for you about that jig you were using to rock over. I guess you can say rock over to the wings of the tool. I noticed it has a set screw on it. Is that adjustable, the tool itself, so you can change the tilt of the jig?
A set screw. Let's see what I put in. Yeah. So, is this the screw we're talking about right here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So no, we don't change that. I mean, you could change it, but the system is set up where this doesn't have to be changed.
Okay. So
I've never had to, and
say if you dropped it, because one of my things is I'm a clumsy person in the shop. What if you dropped it and you ended up changing that angle slightly? Is there any way to find that angle again?
Well, let's see, with the the older version is a little bit tougher to recover from that. Let's see if I can widen this out of it. There we go. I'm not just a talking head there. The older version is a little tougher. It has a stop on here, and it can be a little bit harder to do that. But with this one, if you look at the front there, I don't know if it'll show up or not, but there's a struck line that goes right across. So you just line those back up, tighten it up, and you're back at the races.
That's very handy. That's very handy.
Yep. So I've covered the vast majority of what I use the ProEdge for. You can also use it for chisels. You can use it for your bench chisels. And basically what we would do is the same thing. You'd set your angle. There's a selection of angles available here on the front of the machine. And use the profile. You use the platform. And I would use the V-block adapter to make sure that I'm getting a nice square edge across the end of my chisel. So that's my spiel.
Nice.
That's very good. Now, what do you know what grits come with it as far as the belts go?
I'm not I know that it comes with a 120 and a 60 and a 240. Now, the belts come in different materials. You can get it with a, let's see, I have a little chart right here. Sometimes I have a hard time remembering. We have the ceramic belts. Those are the ones that I like the best. They run cooler, and they're very efficient at cutting. Also have the aluminum oxide belts. I believe that 2 of the belts you get standard with the machine. I think it's the 120 and the 60 come in the aluminum oxide. And then we also have the zirconium belts, which is really good for profiling and honing high-speed steel. And then we have the Trizac belts. And the Trizac belts are really fine belts. And this is kind of the texture. I mean, this one's dirty because I use it, but this is the texture of the belt here. It almost looks like a tank tread or something. And we can get those in really fine grits. And there's also a CBN belt that's available as well.
That's new.
That one, CBN built. That's cool.
Yeah. So I know that a lot of the.
Go
ahead.
I will say though that the CBN belt is a little pricey.
I can imagine. So a lot of it, whenever you buy Robert Sorby products, a lot of them actually already come with Klingspor abrasives in the package. And so at woodworkingshop.com, if you want to get an upgraded belt selection or just an assortment, we offer one, both aluminum oxide and our gold material. So it'll be the 2-inch by 30.5. And we also offer the ceramic belts in 60 and 80 grit. So if you're looking for belts for your ProEdge or additional belts to go with your purchase of a ProEdge, you can visit woodworkingshop.com.
Now, Darryl, one question I do have for you is the does that machine run cooler than a standard bench grinder? Because I know a lot of problems with the bench grinder is sometimes it's still too fast, even if you have a low speed grinder. Do you have problems with the ProEdge burning the steel of the tip of the tool?
No, it does its job really well. It does its job very efficiently. So I spend very little time actually grinding on the tools. So there's not a whole lot of opportunity for heat to build up. Now, when I'm doing something like reshaping a grind, it doesn't matter what, it really doesn't matter what type of grinder you use, you're going to generate quite a bit of heat. And actually, Alan Lacer, I was watching a video of his, and he talked about the fact that it's really not a good idea to use water to quench. I know this is a little bit of a sidebar, but he talked about how you shouldn't use water to quench your high-speed steel tools. And what he does is he lays the bars of the tools on the bed of the lathe, which acts as basically a huge heat sink, right? Mm-hmm. And it'll cool it down pretty fast. So there's that. Plus, today's steels really, you almost have to get it a dull red before you lose the temper. So it's not quite as big a deal as it used to be.
Yeah.
I hope that I know I went off on a sidebar, but I hope that the core question got answered.
It's just one common question that we have here at Klingspor. Like some people walk into the store and ask, what do I need and what do I do if this happens and so on and so forth. So that's just kind of where that question came from in my head.
Okay.
So I know with Robert Sorby, they have the Turn Master and it has all these different tips. Is there a way that we can sharpen the tips on the ProEdge system?
Absolutely. So let me grab one of those so we can talk about it.
Okay.
Let's see. All right. So we're going to grab one and talk about it first and talk about some of the ideal ways to sharpen them. So the thing is, yes, we can sharpen the Turn Master tools on the ProEdge. So this right here is actually the adapter for the trying to remember what it's called, the multi-tip tool. So let me put my hand behind it because I just realized how busy the background is here. So this is the tool for the multi-tip hollowing system. All right. I recently learned that the tool for the Turn Master, which you asked about, it looks very similar, except it doesn't have this end on it, and they actually have a different size screw. So that's important to know because I've recommended in the past buy this instead of the other because you could do both, but it does have a different size screw. But anyway, back to the Turn Master. So the Turn Master uses inserts. Okay, what most people would think of as a carbide tool, but we actually make it in different materials. So we can take the cutter off of here and we can put it screw. We can put it right here, attach it with the little screw there, and then we can take it to the ProEdge. Let me switch cameras real quick so we can talk about it real quick. All right, and we can go back to the ProEdge, put our platform back on, and they're all scrapers. All of the cutters for the Turnmaster are scrapers, and those come with an 80-degree bevel from the factory. So that's going to be the second from the last hole on the outside edge of the settings bar over here on the side. Now, what we would do, all right, is we'd have the tool. We would mount the cutter right here. Again, this isn't the one for the Turnmaster, so this screw actually won't fit through the cutter. So we'll just talk about it. So just imagine that the cutter's on here. So basically, what this does is this allows us to have a flat reference surface and enough material to hold on to, so that we don't run the risk of burning our fingers as we sharpen it. And then we can go ahead and we can sharpen the tools that way. Let's see. That was a long story, long explanation.
But no, it makes sense because you cannot use just the standard tip holder for the Turnmaster tips. You do have to have the Turnmaster jig, the Turnmaster tip holder. So there's two different tip holders if you're doing it. But let's say you don't have the Turnmaster and you have another tool, so you might be able to sharpen those on this system using the Sorby tip holder or the Turnmaster tip holder.
So here's the thing about that tip holder, unsolicited, of course. This is the multi-tip tool, all right? And this is really good for hollowing. Put it up close so you can see it. This is really good for hollowing, all right? You can use it for hollow forms. You can use it for bowls. The beauty of it is this little cutter can be rotated around. It can be rotated around the head, which allows you access to do undercuts and things like that, all right? So this, you'll see that it has a similar round disc as the tip holder, all right? It's a little different though, because the tip holder presents the cutter so that the flat face is up, because you have to sharpen it that way. So the bottom of this is rounded and the top is flat, so you have to hold it the opposite direction so that you can sharpen it, and that's what that does for you, all right? And the reason why the other tip exists, even though it doesn't fit the Turnmasters, is for the scraper, for the shear scraper that comes standard with the multi-tip tool. So we could take this off and put it on our tip holder, on this side of the tip holder. Okay, and then we can reprofile this. Now, the multi-tip tool, which is the straight version, all right, the scraper blade actually doesn't have a bevel. It's 90 degrees. So you would set the platform to 90 degrees, and then you put it on, attach it to this, and then you can go ahead and reshape that. I feel like it wouldn't be right for me not to mention the other way to sharpen these tools, right? Because you can do it on the sharpening system, but you can also take your cutters. You can take your cutters and you can put them face down on a diamond card, and you can sharpen it that way for both the multi-tip tool, the scraper, and the Turnmasters. And one last thing about the Turnmasters, I know I've said a few things about it already. The Turnmaster, the nice thing about it is that if you look at the head design on this, all right, it holds all the different cutters that we make for this tool. You don't need a new bar to get a new cutter. So if you wanted to try hollowing, we have a tip for that. You can just buy it and put it on the same head, and you're off to the races, all right? And then the cutters are actually made in 3 materials. These are high-speed steel. We also have a carbide, and we have a titanium nitride coated high-speed steel. And the thing about the high-speed steel is that it's a smaller metal molecule than carbide, which means that carbide can never be as sharp as high-speed steel. So this is quite a different cutting experience from your standard carbide cutters.
Awesome. Well, Darryl, thank you very much for joining us today to explain the ProEdge, its sharpening benefits, and some of its comparisons on it. Do you have anything special coming up for you as far as any live presentations or anything else that we can advertise or promote?
Actually, I'll be demonstrating at the Chattanooga AAW symposium this year in June.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and I've actually scaled back a little bit on pretty much everything. So if you follow me on social media, you may have noticed that I've been unusually absent. But my family and I were in the middle of a move right now, so as a matter of fact, when I was invited to take part in this sharpening demonstration for Klingspor, it became immediately obvious that I had packed too much because I had packed up most of my cameras and mics and stuff. So,
You got a lot of chucks.
but I was able to find enough to participate. So there you go. Oh, I haven't even started in here, and it's been a total nightmare. We did the house. We've been painting and fixing, and the realtor wants us to do more stuff than I'm willing to do, but we'll get through it.
There you go. Well, cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us. And, check out everything with Darryl at Dreadnought Workshop on his social media channels. You can visit us at woodworkingshop.com for all of these accessories on the ProEdge. Once again, the ProEdge Deluxe is the SZ00095. And, of course, all the accessories as well as the sharpening belt combo. So for Abrasive and Proud of It Live, Turning Thursdays, I'm Mike Z.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Chris.
And this is Darryl
And
Jones.
I'm Darryl.
Wait a minute. Isn't that a little bit reversed? Isn't it supposed to be I'm Larry, my other brother Darryl, and my other brother Darryl? When this stage is I'm your Darryl, and this is my brother Chris and my other brother Chris. We kind of went a little backwards on that. Anyway.
Well, thank you for
You're
joining
showing
us.
your age, brother.
Yeah, you are showing your age. I didn't want to say it, but thank you, Darryl, for doing that for me. Oh, all right. Well, thank you again for watching, and everyone, we hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
See you next Thursday.
Later.